If you're pursuing a music career, or any career for that matter, you're probably familiar with statements like, it's not what you know, it's who you know. It's all about being in the right place at the right time. Whilst these statements are annoyingly repeated, they're somewhat true. But you have the control to be in the right place at the right time and to meet the right people. An equation I can get behind is luck equals preparation meets opportunity. Today, I'm going to be talking about networking. Through this video, I want to explore some ways and places that you can network as a musician or someone who's pursuing some kind of musical career. Even if you're super introverted, I hope to get you some information that could literally change your life. Let me tell you a short story. In a small town somewhere in rural England, there were two bands, Band A and Band B. Nice original names. Both bands have been getting attention in their local scene, playing shows in the local venues and releasing their debut EPs. One day, Band B are asked to support a big act who are coming through town. This then leads to Band B getting a full UK and Europe tour with the big act, which ultimately leads to them being signed to the major label that the big act are on, and now Band B have full-blown music careers. So what did Band B do that Band A didn't? Well, Band B were always talking to the local promoters, getting to know them, becoming friends with them. They actively reached out to the big act on social media when they saw that they'd be coming through their local town. Band B were networking. Now this scenario could work for anything. Becoming a songwriter, a session musician, a producer, looking for band members, establishing a festival. Networking is fundamental. So how do you network? Let me tell you. First, before you start networking, there is one thing you must do. You might have heard things like, you'll never be ready. Start right now. When it comes to networking, there is definitely a point you need to reach before you begin. The first thing you need to do before you start networking is build a portfolio. This will look different depending on what you're pursuing, but essentially you need a body of work that you can direct the people that you're networking with to. So for example, if you're a band, this might mean that you need to play some shows, maybe get some songs recorded professionally, maybe release a few singles or an EP, build a small fan base in your local area, have your social medias up to date, so when you approach a promoter or a record label or a booking agent, you've got a body of work to show them. There's evidence of what you can do and who you are. For a producer or a songwriter, this might be a bunch of songs on SoundCloud or Bandcamp. Examples of what you've done and what you can do. If you're a session musician, this might be a YouTube channel where you're playing covers. The key is, when you're networking, you need to have something you can direct the people to so they can see you're actually who you say you are. That you can actually do what you say you can do. There's no good telling somebody you're an incredible songwriter when you haven't got any songs to show them. Once you've established a portfolio or a body of work, that's when you can begin to network. But where do you go? Here are some places that, from my experience, are great for networking as someone who is pursuing a musical career. First things first, start local and go to an open mic night. I've done a video on open mic nights already and you can watch that here. But they are a great way to getting established in your local scene. They offer a friendly, no pressure environment, and you tend to find that people who attend open mic nights leave their ego at the door. They're there to have a good time. If you're looking for gigs, then most open mic promoters also promote shows. Again, in my experience, I found that people that hang out at open mic nights tend to be fans of music itself. If you're a producer or a songwriter looking for musicians to work with, then this is a perfect place. If you're looking to start a promotions company, then this is where you're going to find your acts. If you're looking to form a band, then this is where your local musicians are going to be hanging out. The key is to search for a good open mic. Find out if one of the open mics near you happen to be one where the people in the field you're looking to network with might even hang out. The second place you should be networking is gigs, especially the gigs that you aren't playing yourself. If you want to be a member of your music community, of the scene, then go to the gigs. Say you want to start a pop punk band. Where are you going to find pop punk musicians? At every single pop punk show that comes through local to you. And once you've established your pop punk band, the best place to get a pop punk show will be whoever promoted the pop punk shows you've been going to. Do some research on the promoters putting on the gigs. Introduce yourself. And also take note at who is at all of the gigs. There'll be people who are at every single one. In my experience, these people are worth taking note of. They're worth getting to know. Usually they're somebody important within the music business in the area, or they're real fans of music. These are the sort of people that will evangelize your marketing if they become a fan of yours. You want to focus on cultivating a community or becoming part of a scene. Regardless of what kind of music career you're trying to pursue, any music career can be fed by being part of your local scene. They say don't be a big fish in a small pond, but you can become a big fish in a pond that's going to eventually grow into the ocean. I know that's a weird analogy, but... Number 3 on the list is music conferences and events. This week, I was lucky enough to be asked to be on a panel at a music event called Build a Musician here in Brighton. Funnily enough, I was talking about social media and content creation, which is funny because you're on my social media watching my content. But anyway, there are music conferences across the world. Big ones internationally and small ones in your local area. These are guaranteed to be full of people who work in the music industry, the music business. Are they the same thing? A quick Google search will tell you where and when they are, and find out who's going to be there. Research them, go to their talks, introduce yourself, either in person or maybe even message them on social media if you saw them do a panel. Take note on who is there. You don't have to talk to them. Just become aware of who these people are. And if nothing else, and you feel intimidated about talking about yourself, or you don't want to come across as arrogant or needy, then just ask for advice. Most people want to help people. Good people, anyway. The 4th and final place on the list of places to network is online. This might be one of the easier places to network, but it's much more tricky to get a response. Human interaction is always much more personal, and you're much more likely to be able to get across what you want to when you're networking. Online, you might not even get a response, but that doesn't mean it's not worth doing. Definitely don't overdo it. Don't be endlessly messaging someone. This will definitely have the opposite effect. Again, asking for advice never hurts. It means you can kind of introduce who you are and what you do without having to be so direct. Message people who are actually worth messaging, not just anyone and everyone because you read their bio and it says music entrepreneur. Do your research on the people. It's very obvious when you're talking to someone whether they're talking to you because they're genuine or they're trying to get something from you. And although when you're networking, there is a sense of trying to get something out of it, but ultimately what you're really trying to do is make connections so you can help each other and cultivate this community. Become a part of the wider music scene. So that's where you can do some music networking. But how do you do it? Here are some of my tips for networking. Don't be annoying, but be genuine. Harassing somebody will definitely have the opposite effect to what you're trying to do. But don't be fake. Be honest. Bigger doesn't necessarily mean better. An example of this might be your local promoter is worth getting to know. You might want to get to know the international booking agent, but your local promoter one day might become that international booking agent. Becoming friends with them at the beginning of their career, as well as your own, could pay dividends in the future. And that current international booking agent is probably super busy. Reaching out to them now is a waste of time. If you're an introvert, then you don't necessarily have to go up and speak to strangers. Instead, see who comes to you. I'm a firm believer in your vibe attracts your tribe. And if your work is genuinely good, you're a genuinely good producer or musician, songwriter, band, whatever it is, then I'm sure at some point somebody's gonna come to you. If you're going to every single local show in your town, even if you're not talking to people, at some point, somebody's going to notice that you've been at every single one and they're probably going to come and talk to you. This in itself is networking. You've been actively putting yourself in the right places. Just because you don't feel like you can talk, that doesn't mean you're wasting your time. You can also check out who is at these places and then use social media to your advantage. Message them later on. Always follow up. Remind people of the conversation you had earlier that day or at the music conference. Send them a little email. Again, don't harass them, but they might have spoken to thousands of people that day. Just give them a gentle nudge. The worst they can do is not reply. And the last tip is Don't be a stalker, but do your research. Your local open mic night might be run by one of the UK's best metal promoters. You'd have no idea. And you're in a metal band looking to get a show. If you know that that promoter of the open mic is the metal promoter that you need to find, then you can introduce yourself to them and say, hey, I'm actually in a metal band and we're looking for a gig. Find out who people are and what they can do. Again, you can put yourself in the right place at the right time. Here's my final word on networking. Networking can be scary. Talking to strangers is terrifying. But if you've prepared, you've got your portfolio in place, you've maybe made some business cards, you've done your research on who these people are, and you've gone to the right places, then all you need to do is find the courage to start that conversation. Here's a quote from one of my favorite films, We Bought a Zoo. It takes 20 seconds of courage to change your life. It literally does.
20 seconds, right? Go.
The amount of time it takes to initiate that conversation, or introduce yourself, or write out that message on social media, it's 20 seconds. And although it feels terrifying, once that 20 seconds is over and you've started the conversation and it's flowing, you don't feel so scared. You don't feel so intimidated. But that 20 seconds, the moment you make that decision to say hello, that could literally change your life. Every conversation is a networking opportunity. So take the courage, because it just might change your life. Woo! Good luck networking, guys. I hope this video has somewhat given you some help. If you liked it, then click like. Please consider subscribing to the channel. Maybe even hit the notifications bell if this is your kind of thing. I make videos every Monday, and I will see you next week.